US President Donald Trump will be visiting China in the middle of the month. This is not a social visit. This is not a sightseeing tour. This is not about food in Beijing. It's about Iran. Hi, Leslie Koo here. US President Donald Trump will be meeting its Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing in the middle of the month to talk about Iran. This is the war on Iran is the biggest headache that Trump has at this moment. So when it's about negotiations, asking China for help, he must have something to offer. Times of the US just bulldozing and asking any country to do what he wants. It's like, hey, this is what I want you to do. Just do it. Don't ask any questions. No more. Those time has passed. No. In this time, especially with China, Trump must have something to offer in return for China's help in settling Iran. So what does it have? We can see that in the recent weeks, Japan has been very active in terms of all of a sudden it can sell weapons to other countries. All of a sudden it joined actively in a joint military exercise in the Philippines. And all of a sudden it very active, engaging Vietnam, Indonesia, as well as Australia on military basis corporations. So this does not come with like out of sudden, right? What Japan has done is for Trump to have something to offer when he meets Xi Jinping. And another one is Taiwan. I mean, you can see that Taiwan president lighting the visit to an African country on the African country's plane. So Trump will be taking this to meet Xi Jinping and say that, well, I need you to settle Iran for me. China is the biggest oil purchaser of Iran. So you're the customer, you can pressure them. Pressure them so that they will listen to the US. So in return, I'll ask my girl and my boy to behave. Now, one thing is what Trump thinks that he is bringing something to offer to Xi Jinping is not what Xi Jinping wants. No, it doesn't work on, how should I say, these two do not give Trump the ammunition and to force China to settle Iran for him. Let's see Iran, okay, from the China perspective. China is not going to force Iran to say, well, you better listen to the US. If not, we'll stop buying oil from you. China is not going to do that. And moreover, China, as well as the rest of the world, knows that the US is going after Iran because of its oil. One major reason because of its oil reserve, those oil under the ground. And Iran is exports almost all its oil to China, which oil is something that China really needs in terms of their economic development and the momentum. To keep the momentum going off its economic engines. So China knows that. It doesn't make sense for China to pressure Iran so that the US get what it wants, and in return it will go against China. No, that doesn't make sense. No, China is not to ask Iran to let go of its control of the Strait of Hormuz. China is not going to tell Iran to, hey, it's okay. The oil reserve, maybe you let the US oil company to manage it, to dig it out, to suck it out, and let them manage. And China and US will or may lift the sanctions and return you all the billions of dollars. China is not going to do that. That is for sure. So, in fact, if the US wants the war on Iran to end, from my perspective, I think that it's pretty easy. Just back off. Promise that no more attacks, no more bombing, and then sit down with Iran and say that, well, we are very concerned about your uranium. Let's talk. But we promise there'll be no more attacks from us, the US, as well as from Israel. Until there is such guaranteed, credible guaranteed, I think it's very hard for Iran to believe that, or to scale back the defense, and really need to sit down and talk to the US. It's not going to happen until there is a real ceasefire, no more bombing, no more attacks on Iran as well as on the surrounding Middle East countries. In the first place, why the strait was closed, why the oil price has shot up so high, is all because the start of the bombing on Iran by Israel, by the US. If without all this bombing, all this attack, the current situations would not have happened. So, but the thing is that it is not easy for the US to back off, to scale down after it has spent so much money on this war so far without getting anything back. That's why I think it's not easy. So the war in Iran will continue, and whether the ceasefire will happen or not is still very uncertain. Okay, now on Japan, the offer from one of the offers that President Trump thinks that he can offer to China. The thing is that Japan will not back down, because Japan's its role as the US pawn in Asia, the ranking has gone up. Now is something like the Asia Commander-in-Chief for the US, to do what the US wants in Asia, because US will, based on the recent US Department of Defense report, it wants to concentrate to settle its own backyard, meaning Central America, South America. And even if Trump say that well, I'll ask my girl to stay low, lie low. No, it won't happen. China will not believe that will happen because Japan is doing what the US wants to do in Asia, right? So Japan now is the face up front, in terms of, for example, product. Now is Japan is the spokesperson, so to speak. So Japan will continue to sell weapons, will continue to engage the other Asian countries, so on and so forth. The main issue is to contain China mainly via the sea. So that's why moving forward, we will see a lot of naval activities between China and Japan, as well as with Philippines, so on and so forth. So the Japan offer to China is not an offer for negotiations. Now, Taiwan. This is a tricky one because Taiwan is, is seen as a domestic affair. Because of the recent, the recent visit of Taiwan President Lai to an African country, I believe China will tell the US during the meeting, or Xi Jinping will tell Donald Trump during the meeting, is that, well, enough is enough. We have enough of this. So don't mess up with Taiwan anymore. It is likely that China will ask the US, stop selling Taiwan weapons. I know it costs billions of dollars, revenue of the weapon makers, who happens to be one of the major US political campaign contributor, but enough. No more sales of weapons to Taiwan. If you insist, China, for example, well, we'll cancel all the agricultural orders from like corn, beef, so on and so forth. Yeah. If the US continues to this is the purchase, the contracts between Taiwan and US private companies. The White House has no say in it. Fine. Then I believe China will have no choice but to use rare earth. So China will now restrict rare earth to US weapon makers, because this rare earth will be used to make weapons, which in turn sell to Taiwan, so that Taiwan can use it against China. That doesn't make sense. So rare earth is likely to be used if the US persists on the weapon sales to Taiwan after China asks them not to. In a nutshell, Trump is not, he thought he would be bringing two major offers or ammunitions for this meeting with Xi Jinping. But from what I see, if he has only these two, Japan and Taiwan, well, I don't think we will see any fruitful result or any outcome from the meeting between the US president and the Chinese president in the middle of the month. There has to be something else that Trump must offer. And the US must back down on what it wants from Iran. If it doesn't, then the uncertainty on war on Iran, whether it will cease fire, whether the oil price will come down, whether the oil supply or oil cargo will start leaving the Strait of Hormuz and go to the usual destinations, it's a big question mark. It's a big question mark. So the uncertainty will linger around. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.